Please take your seats. The program is about to begin. Please take your seats. Our program will begin now. Please welcome to the stage Bloomberg Media CEO Scott Havens.
Good evening, everybody. Before we get going, because we have a lot to talk about over the next few days, I think it's important that we recognize what's top of mind for probably everybody here. There is an escalating conflict in the Middle East brought on by a horrific terrorist event, and many of us know people, have family in region, and it is a horrific humanitarian crisis. We are here to talk about other topics, but it will be top of mind, I am sure, all week. And I would just ask for everybody to be a little more empathetic, a little more generous, a little more human this week. So thank you. Welcome to Screentime. This is a long time coming. We weren't totally sure if we could pull this off, if you would come join us. if this was too adjacent to financial capital markets coverage that we're so well known for. I think you validated it was the right decision, for sure. But frankly, we made the decision because the story of the convergence of media, tech, culture, and finance is a humongous business story, one that Bloomberg covers every day on all of our platforms. I actually wanted to call this conference Converge, and I was thinking maybe we would drop the G and the E and put a J on the end, because, you know, LA, cool, and every great conference is one name, right? TED, Davos, Collision, NEF. Well, you don't know that one yet, but you will. But the team looked at me and rolled their eyes, and the fact is, Lucas Shaw and his team have been out here for the last few years truly covering the media and entertainment industry in a way that I don't know everyone is doing. And so really, the decision was easy. His newsletter is being read by everybody in the industry. And frankly, when I go to a dinner, they say, oh, Lucas Shaw. So here we are with Screentime. Some of the most valuable companies in the world, tech platforms, media companies, most iconic logos that we know in business, make up this incredible global media and entertainment industry. It's roughly $2.6 billion. You'll see some of the players here this week. It's also astounding that we are now spending, and I checked this, 12 hours of our day consuming some type of media. That is, for all you math majors, 50% of the day. So this is a big business that consumes us personally and professionally. Well, Bloomberg brings, I think, a financial and business acumen and frankly, an international lens to this in a way that maybe others don't. The flows of capital, content, culture right now are truly global. We set up this business 30 years ago and have a footprint that is unrivaled. We have 3,000 journalists all over the world. We have studios and distribution in all corners of the world. If anyone was ready to tackle global media and entertainment, it was Bloomberg. You're all familiar with the word context. If you're a writer, producer, you think about camera angles, backstories. If you're a deal maker, you think about the context of the deal, the history. We've adopted a new mantra here. Context changes everything. It's sort of our mantra for Bloomberg Media. And that really suggests that we're trying to give you the story behind the story, that we're going to connect the dots, that we're going to go deeper, be more thoughtful. And we've built that great platform I mentioned. We've got 2 streaming networks. We've got Bloomberg TV and radio here on location. We've got Business Week that'll be on stage. We've got 50 million people on the website, 60 email newsletters, 30 podcasts, and live events like this that we do all over the world. But we're also trying to build a platform for connections. And that's what a live event can be so good at, connecting you, allowing you to network. In March, we hosted a dinner here in LA. It was a great dinner, frankly, and many of you were there. And it was really, I think, eye-opening to see that even though all of the attendees were in LA, they hadn't really gotten together and talked. And I was listening at the deal making going on, and we should get together, let's get lunch, let's talk about that podcast. It was happening right there, and it really was a light bulb, I think, for all of us and for people there, that I think we can bring a platform for connections here. So you're going to enjoy amazing conversations on this stage and other stages. We have a phenomenal lineup. Lucas will tell you about it. The experience will be second to none, the food, the wine, the music. Love it all, but talk to people, connect, get some new partnerships, do some deals, make some money. This is year 1 for Screentime. We are committed to invest in this platform. We hope you are committed. This is for you as well. So give us feedback on what went right, what didn't. We plan to be back next year. I want to thank everyone who made this possible. If you've never been involved with a live event of this size, you have no idea how many people it takes. It is and I look at the budget, so I know how many people it takes. From finding guests, speakers, delegates, cutting badges, laying down the stage, making your experience great, food and beverage, guys behind the camera, master control. It's astounding. So thank you to everybody who did make this possible. The hard work does not go unnoticed by anybody here, and certainly not by me. So enjoy Screentime. Have a great couple days. Welcome.
We're talking about the supply chain behind making shows.
Where are we going? Barbie Land!
The boundaries of the entertainment world are blurring, and they're all scrambling for the same thing. Screen time. The stakes have never been higher for Hollywood, and navigating this multiverse is no simple task. Across film, television, gaming, technology, sports, music, and more. It's culture, business, technology, converged. Welcome to Bloomberg Screentime. Please welcome to the stage Screentime host and Bloomberg managing editor of media and entertainment, Lucas Shaw.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Scott, for the kind words, and really thank you all for being here. We've been working on this for more than a year. I think we've put together a pretty good lineup of speakers, so I hope you'll stay for all of tonight and certainly tomorrow. That begins this evening. We've got Ari Emanuel kicking things off. He's the CEO of Endeavor, the CEO of TKO Holdings. You probably first knew of him as a Hollywood agent. He's now a combat sports king. He recently closed a deal for WWE, which is one of many things we'll be talking about with him tonight. After Ari, we're going to have Donna Langley, who recently got promoted to be the Chief Content Officer at NBC Universal. Very big job. She's been one of the best studio chiefs in Hollywood for a long time and is behind two of the year's biggest movies, Super Mario Brothers, #2 movie this year, as well as Oppenheimer, which for my money is probably the biggest surprise of the year, certainly in Hollywood. A 3-hour biopic about the atomic bomb that grossed more than $900 million. Pretty incredible. Also tonight, we'll be unveiling Bloomberg Businessweek's Ones to Watch. This is a new list of rising stars, up-and-comers in the business of media, entertainment, and technology. I will not spoil the list. That goes to Joel Weber, the editor of Bloomberg Businessweek. He's going to give you guys a sneak peek at it, and he will also be interviewing one of the people on the list who is a major local celebrity, or if you do not know her, you should soon. For those that don't know me, my name is Lucas Shaw. They've said it, so I don't know why I'm even saying it. But I lead a team of very talented journalists covering the business of pop culture at Bloomberg. I'm also the author of a weekly newsletter called Screentime, which Scott mentioned. I've been writing it for a very long time. I started a newsletter more than a decade ago when newsletters weren't really a big thing. And I was mostly just mad that my friends weren't reading what I wrote. So I would copy and paste articles that I wrote into Gmail, and then I think at the time I started maybe 40 people on BCC, and I would blast it out. It's evolved a little bit since then. But I was at the time, and still today, sort of obsessed with the relationship between Hollywood and Silicon Valley, which then was very tense. You had people in Hollywood who saw the tech companies as pirates who had gotten rich off their work and not paid them enough. You had the folks in Silicon Valley who thought that the people in Hollywood were Luddites and were basically just trying to fight innovation. In the decades since I started that newsletter and just over the past many years, the lines between technology, media, entertainment, they've blurred. You just need to take a look. A company like Alphabet is one of the biggest tech companies in the world, but it makes almost all of its money from advertising. it helps monetize all of you, what you search, what you look for, your information. It's in that way not that different from what TV networks, radio stations, newspapers have done forever. Or you look at a Netflix, which started as a tech company and is now one of the biggest Hollywood studios. That transition has not been easy, and I'd say the last few years in particular have been pretty bumpy, as probably a lot of people in this room can attest to. Stock prices for a lot of these companies are in the toilet. We're hopefully near the end of one of the longest labor stoppages in Hollywood history, and the federal government is in the middle of suing both Alphabet and Amazon. So we thought now would be the perfect time to bring you all together for an event. We'll hear from a lot of people involved in figuring out what the future looks like. I will be asking the questions. I will not be making predictions. Before we start, I got to do a kind of run through a few things. These are procedural, but they will be useful to you, hopefully. To start off with, I want to thank our presenting sponsor for this evening, BMW of North America. Without them, the night would not have been possible. And if you're not already on your phone, which I think a few of you are, I would take it out now because we're going to do a few things that involve typing things, QR codes, all that stuff. So they already got it up here. The Wi-Fi network, it's on your badge. It's also on these screens left to right. Useful. This QR code is because we are going to be doing polling throughout the night as well as audience questions. So audience questions are you guys submitting ideas to me and to the other moderators that we can use. The polling is actually the thing you really need to pay attention to right now, because throughout different sessions, we are going to put up polls on there that you can respond to, you should respond to. We'll do one in a second that they're going to put up, but also during different sessions, I will integrate that into the conversation. We've got one for Ari that is about sports, and we'll see if he agrees with what you guys have to say. Let's put up the first poll, please. So I'm not going to read out all the names, but the idea is, let's say you come into some money and you can invest in the future earnings of one celebrity, one talent. These are your 5 options. To me, the answer is pretty obvious. It should be number 1, but there's some good people on there. Now, if you want to engage on social media, we have a hashtag at Bloomberg Screentime. You can follow along with us on all the different social platforms at Bloomberg Live. If you have a terminal, thank you for paying for my salary. And also you can follow on LiveGo. There's also an app for this event. I think this is our last QR code of the evening that they're going to put up here. You can use that to follow the agenda, do a bunch of other things about the venue, and also chat with other people here. I want to reiterate what Scott said. I've been to a lot of these events over the years. We're obviously hoping this one is great. It's different, but the best part of it has tended to be not, all due respect to what I'm about to do, what happens here, but the people I meet out there, the conversations I have. So please be curious, please talk. I'm not going to tell you to make money like Scott, but if you do that, God bless. Now, before we bring out our first guest, because this is Hollywood, we do have a sizzle reel, but he's been in the headlines for a lot of his career, especially in the recent years as he's bought, I don't know, he'll tell me, dozens of companies in news and sport, or excuse me, in media and sports. Please welcome Ari Emanuel.
Please welcome to the stage Endeavor and TKO CEO Ari Emanuel.
Wow.
How'd I do? You were worried about this speech.
No, I thought sizzle was halfway decent.
Okay, good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for kicking it off. I'm going to start on one very serious subject. Just you happen to be one of the most influential members, I'd say, of the Jewish community in the U.S. And so I'm curious for your thoughts on the events of the past week.
Well, I actually wrote something, but before I wrote,
I saw that.
you know, I had this. It's not the same as 9/11, but I had that same feeling. Just to level set, you know, my last name was taken from my father's brother's first name, who died in '33, taking food and medicine into Jerusalem. As a Jew, what happened in Israel this past weekend was one of the worst pogroms in history, not including the Holocaust. And that was under Bibi Netanyahu. My grandmother escaped the Bolsheviks and the pogrom that happened then. It was even worse than that pogrom because we didn't have a Jewish state. We now have a Jewish state. Now we have a country with probably one of the great militaries, one of the great intelligence apparatuses. But from my opinion, a morally corrupt Bibi Netanyahu exposed Israel and its people to rape, death, beheadings of children, murders of fathers, mothers, grandmothers. And he did it to stay in power. He nominated a minister of Homeland Security that didn't even serve the mandatory military term required in all of Israel. He nominated a second minister of defense who barely was a soldier. He fired the minister who was a general and had to bring him back because of public pressure. He refused to meet with key military figures. He was trying to change the Supreme Court because he had to keep himself out of jail. And this led to a vulnerability that is unprecedented. And this would be like 30,000 Americans dying in 9/11. That's what happened in Israel. And I just think it's time that we get rid of this man. Yeah. So, and, you know, we talk about, there's been a lot of conversations about Hamas and the Palestinians. The ignorance about Hamas and Hezbollah and the Palestinian issue. They're terrorists. I can argue with you and discuss with you properly, and I probably have different feelings than most people are saying maybe about the Palestinian issue and how he was using maybe Hezbollah and to expand settlements. But they're heinous. They've had the territory since 2007 when they were elected. Anybody that goes against them in Hezbollah, they get rid of. They have not created any economic benefit. That is not the Palestinian issue. So I'm just angry. I'm upset. You know, and I don't think this man deserves to be in power. So. And you know, it's just horrible.
Well, thank you for sharing that. There is absolutely no seamless transition, but I was curious for how you're feeling. We are here to talk about business, not politics, for the most part, unless you have some thoughts to jump in later.
No.
You know, you closed your deal for WWE a few weeks ago now. It's a business.
I think it's like 4.5 weeks. Yeah.
It's business you know well. You worked with them as an agent.
Yeah.
Why did you want to buy it? And what is the opportunity that you see to grow a business that's been around for 4+ decades now?
Well, listen, I think it's kind of UFC 2.0. You know, we took that business from, you know, great owners in Las Vegas doing about $150 million in EBITDA, and we've increased the EBITDA by a significant amount of money. Vince and Dana's done an unbelievable job, continues to do an unbelievable job in that business. Vince has been decades and decades running this business. And I think our flywheel, whether it be international rights, domestic rights, sponsorship, site fees, all the stuff that we do, and the cost savings that we can bring into it because of our organization, I thought that there was a lot of upside of what we could create, in addition to what we do on the domestic side and the rights deals. And also for the street, I think our Endeavor story was a little confusing. We were not getting, I don't think any CEO believes that they're getting proper credit. for the economic value that they create. And so this would be a pure play in sports, combat sports. And then the rest of Endeavor. And then we could go, we tried to do the following to everybody. One, our cash flow conversion, that's what the street was asking. I think we did a pretty good job there. By doing this deal, we've reduced our debt below 3 times. It's a pure play. I think people can understand it now. I don't think they're understanding.
Well, I was going to
yeah,
ask.
exactly.
So you brought up UFC earlier, and one of the things that happened.
And I'm a genius, aren't I? Yeah.
One of the things that
Screwed that
happened
up.
with UFC is you bought it, everyone said you overpaid, which has been a recurring theme for you. You
Yeah.
buy something, people
Yeah.
say you overpay, you
Right.
prove them wrong. With UFC, though, you had I assume you had a feeling, and you were right, that you could go and get a much bigger media deal because the right.
Yeah.
Now, there was a point in time at which it looked pretty hairy. I, in fact, wrote a story that Christian, who worked with you, didn't speak to me for like 2 years after I wrote it because it was about the challenges you guys were having in getting a deal. But you did get a deal with Disney. The street so far, to your point, doesn't love the deal that you already did for WWE.
I mean the NBC deal.
The NBC deal.
For SmackDown.
Because so for those that don't know, there's WWE has 2 sets of rights, well 3, but 2 TV sets of rights. There's SmackDown and Raw. And NBC, which had what was seen as the more premium package, paid for the less premium package. You got a 40% increase or so.
Yeah.
It seemed like people both expected that to be more and or were worried that because NBC had sort of traded down, that you were going to be in a tough spot with.
Okay, so let me answer the question, okay? You know, which you've nailed it. Here's what I would say. Again, they're wrong, but we got a 40% increase for SmackDown. We have Raw, which is the #1 package, available. There's 3 rights coming available to market. 3 big rights. WWE, Raw,
NBA.
UFC, NBA, okay? We are involved in 2 of them, right? There's 6 buyers. Plus, I would say WWE Network, which is up in 26. I think I'm saying that, maybe 25, 26. So, you know, you cannot undervalue the WWE and UFC for the following reasons. One, we do not have a season. One of the biggest issues that will happen with SVODs and networks is churn. We're 52 weeks a year, right? And we're flexible. You want us Thursday night, you want us Tuesday night. I don't have any of those scheduling issues. And that churn issue, because we're the full year, is so much different from any other sport because then people churn out. That's one of the issues with sports. Not in a bad way, but that's
They
what.
sign up for the NFL
And then the package is over, and then you leave. We do not have. Our fans are loyal. They stick around, and they stay with, and they move.
Do you think that the NBA deal has to get resolved before?
No. So I would say to you, there's plenty of interest with Raw right now. I know people like, really, like NBC is out of the mix, and that's why it went down. I think there's 3 things that happen. One, the reason the stock is down is, one, they thought like Raw was the best package. I thought a 40% increase, which was in line with expectation, was good. 2, the PFL situation. And 3, probably Vince in our deal wanted to be able to put at any point in time his stock, you know, he's 78 years old, he's been working at this for decades and decades. So I think those 3 back-to-back issues.
For those that don't know the PFL situation.
So the Saudis invested in this, actually a sport that we said, fine, put it on ESPN, that's on ESPN with us with the UFC, called the PFL. They put $100 million in. The WWE makes over $100 million from the Saudis for a 5-year deal for 2 events. It came from the group that does events in Saudi. People were thinking it was the next Live. It was announced actually today. I don't know if you saw it. We're doing an event with the UFC in Saudi, right? And they said that there's no exclusivity, which is an indication that that was for events. We're bringing them an event. And so I think that will calm some nerves. And so we now have 2 big things to go out to market with, like I was and Mark Shapiro was with the UFC. We're pretty calm right now about our rights. We think we have a great situation. We have an unbelievable relationship with Bob Iger and ESPN and Jimmy and everybody there. And Raw's like the ratings are through the roof, SmackDown through the roof, our ratings are through the roof, our events are sold out. So we feel really good.
I want to get back to rights in a second, but since Saudi Arabia came up, I'm curious. Rewind 5 years, or maybe less than that. After Jamal Khashoggi gets murdered, you say you give back money, or that Saudi Arabia is going to invest in your company. You now are in business with them in a couple of ways, right?
Yeah.
What has changed between then?
I would say, I mean, we didn't want them. I didn't want them at the time in our. We weren't public in our investor stack. Okay. I said on many podcasts about my feelings about the situation and how I think they have hired us to distribute. And I didn't say that we would never do business in Saudi. I just didn't want them in the financial stack of our investors. We distribute their now soccer league through IMG because of WWE. We were in business with them for at least 5 years. 2 events a year. Great. They just bought an event from us for the UFC. Great price. We're doing the event. Will be an unbelievable card. So I just at the time didn't feel comfortable for many reasons, which has been stated. But we're in business with them now. So that's simple.
And my colleagues and I reported recently that your company has expressed some interest, you brought up Liv, some interest in maybe investing in the PGA Tour. Saudi Arabia is obviously supposed to be part of, you're smiling at me.
No, you reported, you're an unbelievable journalist. We like, I think it's like 7 other bidders. We put in a bid for there's a 501c3 nonprofit, and then they created a profit investment opportunity for the PGA. We put in a bid, I think a week ago, Friday. We are in TKO, the sports business. I'm an avid golfer. Anybody wants, I'm a 7 handicap. And it's one of the great sports. I love it. I think we could add to it what we've added to all of our sports based on the flywheel.
Do you have a sense of whether that would be in addition to the Saudi money coming in or instead of?
We put in our bid.
Yeah. For what?
For the PGA deal.
Okay.
For
a piece of the tour or for the whole thing?
For the PGA. Yeah.
A piece or whole?
You can't buy the majority.
Okay, thank you.
So, I would love to.
Yeah. Now, on the sports rights front, a lot of this is predicated on that market continuing to increase.
Yeah.
That has been ballooning for a long, long time.
Right.
Given what you're seeing with the kind of continued collapse of TV, the way that some...
Okay, I'm not going to interrupt you, okay?
Yeah,
the NFL
well, you know where I'm
made a
going.
10-year deal with linear television. 10 years, okay? The linear business is not going anywhere. They've also made deals on digital. We did the same thing, ESPN, ESPN Plus on the UFC side. WWE did, Peacock, Showtime, USA Network, and Fox, which is whatever. So the linear business is not going anywhere. The sports business is moving is going to figure itself out between digital and linear. It's an unbelievably healthy market. They all have to be in it. They all want to be, every single one of the players want to be in it because of the audience. We have 2 assets in the sports business that are year-long, don't have a season. I don't believe prices are going down. You're going to figure out the bifurcation of the rights and give things up, not give things up.
How long do you think it is before Netflix actually jumps into sports?
They're in sports right now, but they just do the shoulder programming.
Yeah.
I think their point of view, and you'll ask Ted tomorrow, is we build up we don't want to be in the bidding of rights and then not have any long tail. So I'm not sure. They did bid on Formula One, but ESPN got it. So I think that was a smaller package, meaning smaller economics. So we'll see.
We've gone through all this time without talking about Hollywood, so now I got to ask you about that.
Hollywood?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I only studied about sports. Yeah.
I think you know what you're talking about. Do you still consider yourself an agent?
Yeah, I'm in it. I'm an agent. Yep, I got Marty's movie coming out, Marty Scorsese's movie coming out. I just finished two significant deals at Netflix for a significant amount of money for 2 big clients.
Care to share?
I think they've got with Tyler Perry and David Ellison. So, yeah, I mean, I'm in it every day with clients, every day. So, I mean, there's the actors are on strike, so it's pretty hard. But yeah.
Why do you think that's taken so long?
As I said, I think my last earnings call, I said this is going to take months, not days. They've got big issues they have to address. I just hope that they all get in a room, lock the door, and don't leave, and nobody gets on a soapbox.
How much influence, do you get involved in this? Do you call both sides?
No, I don't think they want us agents involved. You know, I've talked behind the scenes to a bunch of people. They're handling it. It's just frustrating. I mean, just lock the door. And when you're in a negotiation, get half a loaf. I mean, what's with everybody? I need the full loaf. I mean, just get a half a loaf and move on. Make a deal. It's not that hard. We all need to go to work.
Do you blame one side more than the other?
There's no blame. It's just you don't have to solve every issue right now. You don't. You can do as best you can in the moment. People need to go on, the writers were 140 days in a week. Directors were a week. This is going on a long time. Get in a room, lock the door, and say, okay, it's not exactly what I want, but it's affecting a lot of people. And a lot of people are hurting. And in this day and age, it's not the last time you're going to be at the table. You're not winning an Oscar for this negotiation.
I want to play a little game with you, or you're.
I really don't like games.
Yeah.
I like Sudoku, but I don't like games.
Sudoku's great, yeah. So they're
Wordle. I'm good at Wordle.
I am a Wordle guy.
Yeah. Can't do a connection.
They're as I talked about earlier, and as you and I have discussed, it's a fairly shaky time in media and entertainment, or there just seems to be a lot of change. A lot of traditional companies that are trying to figure out what to do. Mm-hmm. So looking across entertainment, media, you can even go into tech if you want. You got to put a buy on one company and a short or a sell on one company. What do you do for each?
You want me to go around and tell you?
I just want one for each. No, you don't have to do it
you
for
want me to
every
say
company.
No, I want to buy Disney. I want to sell.
No, just one for each.
I don't understand the question. Do you guys understand the question?
If there's one company that you believe will have a really good next 5 years, who is that? And one company that you think is going to have a really
Well, for sure, I think YouTube, Google will be fine. I think Microsoft will be fine. I think Netflix will be fine. I think Comcast, $40 billion free cash flow, pretty good. I think Zaz has figured it out. He went through that tough year where he was getting killed, but he's not profitable. Bob's going through it now. He's a very good executive. He'll figure it out. I would not put my money on Paramount. I think there's going to be rough times at Fox, just because their demographic is getting older, and I don't know what, you got family issues.
When you say, I'm curious, because you brought up two of the ones that have had a kind of a shaky company.
Whole family issues.
Well, yes. But with David Zaslav, what do you think he has figured out?
Well, he's paying down debt. He's made his streaming service profitable. He's got his people in place for a strategy on DC, on the movie business. Casey Boys at HBO is incredible. I think he's now off to the races. You got to remember with all these executives, and Bob just coming back, they're driving down the street 60 miles an hour and they're changing 4 tires. It is not easy in this day and age, as you just talked to the dynamics of going on. Plus, they got a lot of debt, so it's hard. And I think they both got really good assets, and they'll figure it out.
Do you have an opinion of what, because Bob has tossed a ton of balloons out there. What would you do if you were in his position?
No, I'm not going to say that.
Another one of your favorite subjects then. CAA, long arrival of your agency, although now I get that your company does a lot more than that. Just sold a majority stake. I think you were on a podcast earlier this year, and correct me if I'm misquoting you, where you basically said that you would pay the salaries of the guys still running that company to stay because you think it's benefited you.
I should have, I actually should have written something up about them. So this past week, and this is serious actually, the 2 heads of that company were sued for their involvement in Harvey Weinstein. And it's been, I think, 7 cases. There was the Steven Seagal's case that they told Kevin Uvain about, and he said, don't do anything. Brad, and the whole edict about CAA that they pitch is everybody knows everything, we share. 7 different agents knew about different incidents with women. When they took over, they decided that we're going to look the other way and set people up, and that's why they got sued. Kevin and Brian, from my perspective, and we all think, #MeToo, we have to believe the woman, and I agree with that. They told this woman, don't do it, it's bad. Gwyneth Paltrow talked about it with Brad Pitt, other people. You're sitting in a situation that Kevin and Brian are like to Harvey Weinstein, like what's her name, Maxwell was to Jeffrey Epstein. They were leading them in to this man. So what should happen with them is the following, and then I'll talk about the business. As any public company or a private company, and they're owned now by Kering, which is a huge luxury brand for women, you should bring an outside person to investigate it, not somebody you hired from Paul Weiss. They should take a leave of absence. This is the 7th time this has been brought up about that agency. I don't know where Screen Actors Guild is on it, because if it was an agency in the Valley, they would have closed that thing down. So they should take a leave of absence. An investigator should come in, and they should look at what they did. They didn't apologize. They didn't deny it. They didn't. So from my perspective, it's horrific. I don't know where Margot Robbie is, where Meryl Streep is on this issue. Like, hey, where are you guys? Where are you guys questioning your leaders and your agents? No, they're not. As it relates to the business now, and I think it's disgusting what they did. And it's happened when they were just taking power. So, we got a bigger business than them in the agency business. And, if there were $7 billion, and you can put my stock price up there for EDR again, it's going to depress me tonight. We're worth a lot more, and we have more morals, and we have a better business in, they got valued at 15 times for the agency business. Quint, which is an experience business, same as my business On Location, just got valued at about 15 times. I just sold IMG Academy, which I got 0 value for $1.2 billion. I sold my production company for $1 billion. And then I have a betting business, OpenBet. I'm not getting any credit for any of those things and I actually don't expect it to be 15 times because that's the private market. It shouldn't be 1.5 times. Give me 6. I got kids to feed.
I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, I just don't understand it, you know?
I'm curious on that note. You have at least recently, and maybe you said it before, apologies if I missed it, started to talk about Mark Shapiro, who's the president of the company, as your successor.
Yeah, we have a succession plan throughout the whole company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that because you're starting to think about leaving your current job?
I think he probably wants to kick me out, you know? Now, listen, he's an unbelievable executive. And I'm not going anywhere. I love what I do. I think I have enough energy, but these people will tell me, my clients and my associates will tell me. But he deserves a ton of credit for his intelligence, the way he runs the business with me. We do it together on both. And he always shoots me straight. That's all you can ask for an executive. And I just think people need to know him. And he definitely will be the heir apparent to running both businesses, yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Please welcome to the stage Bloomberg Businessweek editor Joel Weber.
Thanks to Lucas and Ari, that was great. Hi, I'm Joel Weber, editor of Bloomberg Businessweek, and I'm excited to be here to reveal our ones to watch list. Now you might be asking, how do I become one to watch? And the answer is it's already too late, you're not on the list. But the answer is actually that you're poised to be a leader in arts, culture, and entertainment, or that you're someone who can get us better seats at Angel City's games, or a reservation at Yes Restaurant. All kidding aside, our entrants are either on the cusp of being household names, or for those in the know in their industries, they already are. Let's take a look. I'd like to share just a few more details about all those people. Dave Amantia is managing some of the sleekest, fastest, and let's be honest, priciest electric vehicles on the market. If you don't know the name Noah Assad, you know his clients. He's the manager for Bad Bunny and Karol G, two of the hottest reggaeton stars on the planet. If you're ever watching anyone play video games on Twitch, there's a good chance you subscribe to Kai Cenat's feed, since he's the top streamer on the platform. If you like watching NBA games on ESPN, then you should know just how important Rosalind Durant is, because she's the one negotiating those rights. Paige Elkington, got a shout out already. Thank you to the fan crowd here. Her ads have gone viral. Her YouTube shorts are hysterical. She interviews fascinating people on her podcast, and she's also writing a movie about government-mandated dating for women in their 30s. Sounds interesting. Buck Ellison's photography is being scooped up by major museums, so you may already be too late to say you, quote, own an Ellison. But you'll be able to get on the ground floor of what James Gunn and Peter Safran are doing as they help bring the superheroes of DC Comics to the big screen in the near future. Andrew Huberman brings a background in neurobiology to his widely successful health and wellness podcast. Bronx rapper Ice Spice, who will be the musical guest on Saturday Night Live this weekend, brings a catchy flow to her music. Brooke Michael Caine is rethinking the concert-going experience using tech to make it more enjoyable. Alyssa Thompson, homegrown LA superstar, is incredibly good at soccer. Junya Yamasaki has opened Yes, one of the most anticipated new restaurants in the city. And Savannah Yarborough recently opened an outpost of her bespoke clothing store, Savas, here as well. And I hear it is the place to get your iconic LA leather jacket. I can't wait to see what this group does next. I especially want to thank and congratulate Dave Amantia, Paige Elkington, Brooke Ellison, Brooke Michael Caine, and Savannah Yarborough, who are here with us tonight. So please stand so we can acknowledge you. And there's one more. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Ones to Watch honoree Alyssa Thompson, Angel City forward and member of the women's national team, along with Angel City's general manager, Angela Huckles Mangano. Welcome. Welcome. Well, welcome to the stage. This has been quite a year, Alyssa. You turned pro, scored in your very first Angel City game, played in the World Cup, and then you also graduated high school and turned 18. Best year ever?
Yeah.
Okay. Tough one to beat. What does it feel like to be at this just incredible level already?
It's honestly crazy to me. I would have never thought a year ago that this would all happen this year, and so much of what I've already done has been a dream of mine for so long, so it's really crazy to me just to have done it, a lot of it already.
In 1 year, yeah. Angela, you've also played at the highest levels of sport, in this sport. Just how good is this person next to you?
She's exceptional. And I don't think she's being completely truthful. I think she could imagine it. And I think that's exactly why she's doing it.
Okay. Angela, she wanted me to ask you a question.
Oh, jeez.
It's a modest one, I think, but what's it like to have an 18-year-old on a team like this?
You know, it's interesting because at 18, I probably was trying to figure out what I was going to wear that day. You know, I think Alyssa is an exceptional human being. This isn't something that any 18-year-old could just go and do, right? To follow her passion, her dream, to do it as a professional. You know, I think my recollection of having a 17-year-old teammate when I was on the U.S. national team, Heather O'Reilly, I remember I think we were in Portugal, and I was in the hotel room, and I heard the shower water running for such a long time. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, is she okay in there? And I'm like knocking on the door, like, Heather, hey-o, are you okay? She wasn't in there, right? Like, and I'm like, that's a 17-year-old, right? Experience, and I tease her to this day about it. You know, Alyssa has been balancing so much and handling it with grace. So I think it's truly an honor and a privilege for Angel City.
Okay, Alyssa, there's a really important question I want to ask. A new video game just came out from EA. It's not called FIFA anymore. It's called FC. You're in the game. What's it like to play yourself?
Well, I've never actually played with myself. I don't have a TV at my house. So
don't have a TV at home. So
yeah,
you have not played the game.
So don't play the game. I don't really play video games either. But my friends play with me, and they always send me videos of them scoring with me, and it's so funny.
Okay, so you haven't played yourself, but your friends play as you. Do they critique your game?
I feel like if they were to critique it, it's all on the card. Like, there's obviously stuff that I need to work on. Like, my defending's at like a 41, but
Okay, so
I'm
there's
a
room for
forward,
improvement.
so.
Yeah, okay, all right. I kind of feel like your role on the team isn't really to be defenders, to kind of
Yeah.
be a little bit more offensive. So, what's it feel like to put an Angel City jersey on?
I love putting it on because I'm from LA and I just love the community here. And being able to play at home is amazing. Like, the fans are unlike any in the whole entire world. Like, if you've been to a game before, the atmosphere is
Are there
amazing.
any fans here? I'm so oddly quiet. Oddly quiet from what I've heard about Angel City. So there's something that's happened here. What makes this so special, Andrea?
I think it's what Alyssa's saying. It's the community. I think where we started as a club and how we are doing things differently. Predominantly female-owned and run, I think is a huge change when we look at traditional sports models for any type of business.
What made this current moment possible that wasn't there 5, 10, 20 years ago even?
It's the time. I think it's been the right time. It's been moving in this direction. And I think when we look at our founders, when we think about a Natalie Portman, creating Angel City and having this idea during a Me Too movement, it was the time for this. And I think by having the right people become involved, seeing these incredible people using their platforms to really shift this game forward in all the right ways, definitely.
The other thing about it that I think is phenomenal is just the premise that there's a business story and a business rationale to how this can work. And that's also what everyone else has bought into. What's it feel like just to recognize that opportunity and just feel like the growth trajectory is only going up and to the right? What's that really feel like to be part of that? Does it feel like that in the club and in the locker room?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like all the girls are super excited to just play for a club like this. Like, it's so much more than the soccer for us.
Yeah. And Joel, I think I always say it's a pressure and a privilege to be a player and a staff member at Angel City, because I think we do attract both players and staff for something more than just soccer. Soccer is a vehicle. And I think that's our motivation. That's our reason why we're showing up. That's why you see these players playing so inspired.
So we got to talk about the team right now, because back against the wall, I think, right? We've got one game Sunday.
No pressure.
No pressure. 7-7-7, and you have to play the best team in the league, the Portland Thorns, and the season's on the line. How's this going to go down?
We're going to win.
Yeah. I love that. Spoken with confidence. What do you like about how the team's playing right now?
I think we're just playing together more. Like, the more games we have together with our new coach too, we really just have built relationships over time, and I think that we know each other's strengths and we play to those when we play.
Yep. So there's the win-loss column. There's the number of people in the seats, which is just incredible. I know. How else is the ownership and the team itself? How are you thinking about measuring success?
So many ways. We're a competitive bunch, and I think we have really high expectations for what we want, what we're trying to achieve. We want to bring a championship culture and club to the city of Los Angeles with Angel City. And how we do that, sometimes it takes some time, but I think in the way that we're approaching the day-to-day and some of the small changes that we're trying to make right now is evidence in just even how the second half of the season has really gone.
Yeah. So I'm curious, you had this World Cup experience. What did you learn from that and playing on that stage?
I learned a lot, honestly. I feel like there were a lot of up and downs on the trip, and I think I've learned that the journey doesn't have to be always perfect. I think when I was there, I thought it was such an amazing experience, and I just thought it would be like the dream come true, and just having losing to Sweden early and not playing that much, and I learned a lot about myself and about what it means to just learn from older players, and Yeah, it was just it was also a long time being away from home. I've never been away from home that long. So just not being able to see like my family as much and stuff like that.
You know, obviously the soccer caliber also showed how strong the rest of the world is. And I'm curious, when we think about the National Women's Soccer League, like this was also a little bit of a reminder that the rest of the world is going to look really competitive. How do you make sure that the league remains the place to play for the best athletes in the world?
I think it's multifaceted. I think we need to continue to develop talent within our league, attract and retain that talent as well. I think when we're looking, we have some exceptional and fantastic players right here in our backyard, and what we do to create a great environment that feels safe, that feels productive, and one that players can grow and excel in. I think all of those things play into it.
Speaking of players in the backyard, was that a reference to her sister, who's, what, 14 months younger?
Yeah, 13.
13, and in the audience tonight.
Yes.
Yes. You guys signed the first NIL deal, which is name, image, likeness, for high school athletes ever a year ago. What was that like?
It was awesome. I love Nike. Me and my sister have been Nike girls since we could walk. Like we had Nike cleats, we had Nike shoes, Nike everything. Those Nike sets, we loved it so much. So being able, them being in contact with us was crazy, and just it felt really full circle because that's how we started out.
Yeah. How competitive are you two?
Honestly, I think we like being on the same team better than competing against each other.
Okay. Hint. How does Angel City make that happen? Okay.
Just saying.
What aspect of her game are you most proud of?
I think her calmness and collectiveness. She doesn't get scared by pressure. She loves it, and I think she really thrives in it. And she's just really good at getting out of tough situations in the game.
So there's a pretty good chance she goes pro, I think. What advice do you have for her as she navigates what you've gone through this year?
I mean, enjoy every moment. I feel like it's definitely been really hard, but also super amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But just enjoy the things, everything's so new, and just enjoy what's coming to you, honestly.
I spoke to your dad backstage. He reminded me that you both live at home still. He wants to know when you're getting your own place.
No, he doesn't. He wants us to stay.
Yeah, okay, all right.
That's a lie.
Yeah, he lied.
Mario, where's Mario?
I'm also curious, you made a huge decision to go pro and not go to college. I'm curious, how did you approach that, and what do you want your education to look like?
Yeah, I mean, it took months to decide whether I really wanted to do this, and I've been committed to Stanford since I was 15, and I always dreamed of going there. I would visit, Palo Alto is beautiful, I loved everything about it. And it was a really, really hard decision, but in the end, I knew what I wanted to do with my life, and it was just the perfect opportunity at the perfect time, so I took it.
When you do pursue your education there, what do you want to study?
I have no idea. I feel like when I was thinking about going to college, I would figure it out there and figure out what I really wanted to do and my interests and things like that.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to have an amazing career. You've already mentioned Nike. I'm curious, what other business deals, endorsements, what do you want your portfolio of relationships to look like?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I already have a really good portfolio of brands that I work with.
Spoken like a true diplomat. I know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I love the brands that I work with right now. I work with the jewelry line, which I love jewelry, so I wear it every day. And becoming a pro athlete, we get paychecks now, so I needed to work being able to work with Seaful, which is a financial brand, they really helped with just organizing my money and helping me with that part because I've never had to deal with that ever. And yeah, I feel like I work with Nike too, which is a obviously sports, Nike, fashion, whatever, but I would like to work with more fashion brands because I'm really into style and stuff like that.
Okay. Let's imagine yourself 2 decades in the future. What does your career look like? What do you hope that you've accomplished when you look back on the athlete that you've been?
She's still playing for Angel City.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I would like to accomplish. I mean, winning a World Cup, winning Olympics, winning Ballon d'Or, I just want to be the best player.
Is your dad's trophy room big enough?
I'm going to have my own.
Okay.
I won't live with my parents anymore.
Okay, I just want to bring it back. You are 18 years old. How do you make time for Alyssa and all of the stuff that has come at you so fast?
It's really hard, and I feel like I'm still working on making time for myself, but after practice, sometimes I'll go to the beach and watch the sunset or just hang out with my sisters and my family while I'm still with them. So yeah, I just like to chill.
Okay. Final thought. What impresses folks the most when you get to know Alyssa?
I think it's how she's managing everything. When you watch an Angel City game and you see Alyssa on the field, I think the first thing people go to, is her speed, because she's
That's
lightning
in the
fast.
EA rating. The speed is really good.
Yeah.
Right?
It's got to be the highest in the EA rating. But I think it's what she does with that, right? And I think her next level and elevation is having the players around her understand exactly what she's going to do and anticipating that because of the skill set that she has. But she's a very intelligent player that uses that skill to her advantage.
Pretty good words from management there. Okay, last thing. There's a clap. We're going to end on the clap. There's a big game.
I hope we don't do a clap.
Yeah?
I
No?
think we actually have one of our other Angel City players. Is Madison Hammond here? Is she in the crowd?
There-
Can we get Madison Hammond to lead us in the 3 clap?
Yeah.
Is she out there? It's an Angel City tradition. It was started by Julie Foudy.
Let's do it.
There's Madison Hammond.
There-
Good job.
All right. We're all going to stand up. Everybody can do this together.
Oh.
And we'll do it.
We're doing it.
Okay.
All right.
You want to lead us in the back?
Glad Madison's leading it.
Okay. All right. Take it away. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Whoa!
All right.
Never done that before.
That's great.
Alyssa, Angela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Thank you.
I've never done that before. I was like, thank you.
Please welcome to the stage NBC Universal Studio Group Chairman and Chief Content Officer Donna Langley with Bloomberg's Lucas Shaw.
Okay, we're back. Thank you for being here.
You're
I know
welcome.
You've had a busy few months.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a bit, but I wanted to start bigger picture. Hollywood, I feel like, has spent a lot of the last few years debating the future of the movie business, which is a business you've worked in for a long time. The pandemic sort of basically paused it, crushed it, whatever you want to say. It has slowly been coming back. This summer was probably the best summer we've had since before. How are you feeling right now about the state of the industry and what it's going to look like in the next couple of years?
Well, look, big picture is it has never been more, I would say, volatile. I mean, it has, but it continues to be volatile. But like you said, we did see real signs of life this summer. So generally speaking, box office is down globally around 20% to 2019, so pre-pandemic levels. But this summer, it was 5% down. Right, so it would suggest that even though there were winners and losers of this summer, and obviously we had the two big juggernauts with Barbie and Oppenheimer, movie-going begets movie-going, right? So when there's a season filled with, good movies that people want to see, I was made to feel pretty optimistic about what we saw in the summer.
You mentioned Oppenheimer. We can talk about Barbie, although that's not one of your movies. Your two big movies of the year were Mario and Oppenheimer. Which of those was a bigger surprise to you?
I think probably Oppenheimer. An R-rated film with that subject matter, and at the running time. And I wasn't surprised that it was successful, right? I mean, it's Christopher Nolan. We know that he is a singular filmmaker who audiences globally really want to go see. But I was really surprised at the sort of the breadth of the audience, the demographic. It skewed from young kids, not young kids, but teenagers, all the way up to an older audience. So it was pretty surprising.
You used the word singular to describe Christopher Nolan. I'm wondering because in conversations I've had, at least in the last few weeks, few months, there seem to be some people who are drawing conclusions from Oppenheimer, seeing that as a really good sign, say, for the Martin Scorsese movie that's about to open, or other very long, big dramas. Do you feel like the success of Oppenheimer says anything about the business, or is it the case that Chris Nolan is just a filmmaker? Like, from where I'm coming from, at least, Chris Nolan and Quentin Tarantino seem like two filmmakers where if they make a movie, they're like a brand, right? Even if they're original, people will show up to see them. So I'm not sure, do you get what I'm saying? I'm not sure if that means anything for even a Martin Scorsese, because his movies, their performance have been less consistent.
Yeah, I think, I think in the case of Christopher Nolan, he makes films for the big screen. And really for the big screen only. Of course, you can watch a Christopher Nolan movie at home, and eventually you'll be able to do that. But everything he does, from shooting on IMAX to 70 millimeter, to the way that he really his films encourage audiences to experience his films on IMAX screens and in the large format. I think it all speaks to. Again, I use that word, a sort of singular cinematic experience. You know what you're going to get, not subject matter wise, but you're going to get a very fulfilling experience at the movie theater, and sort of, quite frankly, value for your money.
I'm wondering, you mentioned he makes his movies for theaters, which seems obvious, but there only are a few filmmakers that really, really care about that. It's one of the reasons, correct me if I'm wrong, that he became available, that you could work with him, because he had been at Warner Brothers for a very long time. And during the depths of the pandemic, Warner Brothers did this experiment where they took a bunch of their movies and made them available online at the same time as they were in theaters. And there were a lot of people who got very upset about this. Christopher Nolan was one of them. He sort of insulted the streaming service, if I recall. We have pivoted back a little bit, right? Where during the pandemic, it was like, let's get the movies online as quick as possible. You guys experimented with something called PVOD, which is you being able to rent or buy it at home not long after. What do you think is the happy medium? What is the right amount of time for a movie to be in theaters before people can watch it at home, at least with the bigger ones, not with smaller movies?
Yeah. Well, I think that, yeah, like you say, the industry has definitely found a balance now. During the pandemic, obviously, everybody was experimenting and doing what we were all doing what we could to monetize the films. It was important to us, certainly for us at Universal, to keep films flowing through cinemas, to keep them healthy. And, by and large, it worked. And you mentioned PVOD. But I think, look, we saw it last summer with Top Gun. It had a very long theatrical run, and it was, I think it was quite some, like, I forget how many days, but it was sort of the maximum number of days before it went into a home entertainment window. Same thing for Oppenheimer. So, I think the name of the game is flexibility. It's not one size fits all. But in general, what we found anyway with this PVOD window, which occurs either 17 or 35-ish days after theatrical release, that there's no cannibalization. In other words, the majority of the box office for that film has been earned before it goes into a premium home entertainment window. It's a rental window, right? So it's not for everybody. It's at a higher price point. And so we've really found that has become an additional revenue stream for us.
Is it a significant revenue stream for all of your movies, or are there particular types of movies that overperform?
There are certainly particular types of movies, like for our Focus Feature slate, which is our specialty division, for instance, their films tend to do very well on PVOD. So that's maybe an older audience, more discerning audience in terms of what they might go out to the movie theater to see. Still movies that they want to see, and so they're willing to pay that premium price for them, but they might prefer to stay at home and watch them.
And presumably a slightly wealthier audience.
Yeah, exactly.
How comfortable are you, or what is your current thinking around making movies just for streaming?
Yeah, we're still in an experimentation phase with that, to be honest. We've done a few of them, and to sort of varying levels of success. We've made a couple of movies this year already for Peacock, for our sister platform. And, they find their audience, they do well, and I think that they do well on the platform, certainly in terms of retention. But they are, they tend to be expensive. When we're making a film, through the studio system, it's got all the bells and whistles of it. We are geared towards making films for theatrical. So that just means that, in terms of crews that we're hiring, the post-production process, it's, full sound mix and all things like that. We are making films as if they would go theatrically, right? So I think the price point is maybe a little bit high. And really and truly, I do.
Sorry, the price point as in?
The budget of what we're spending on the films. And I think, what makes films a kind of cultural event, by and large, it's not always the case because other streamers do this at scale, is that big global marketing campaign. When you're putting millions of dollars behind a campaign and you're sort of blasting it out to the world and getting people to come and see it. And I haven't found quite the proxy for that in the streaming world yet.
Well, I'm curious, you used the phrase varying levels of success. So of the ones you've put out, what has been a very successful streaming movie and what is one that is less successful?
Let's see. Well, we had this year, we had two films that, one called Praise This and another one called Shooting Stars, which was based on a documentary called More Than a Game, which is, LeBron's life story growing up in Akron, Ohio. It did very well for the platform, but again, it's sort of relative to the cost. And so I think that's where we're focused at the moment, to see that level of investment.
I'm wondering, so we talked about some of your bigger hits and the good news this summer. The bad news, kind of until the Barbenheimer weekend, was you had a lot of these franchises that underperformed relative to past expectations. You had at least one of them in the latest Fast movie. What lessons do you draw from that? A lot of people start talking about franchise fatigue. Do you look at that and say, okay, we need to wait 5 years before another Fast movie, or do you look at that and say we just need a better script for the next one?
Well, I'll speak specifically about Fast and Furious. It's going to end up in the top 5 of films, for the summer and maybe even for the year. We'll see what happens. So it is a film that is price sensitive. So we could probably stand to bring that budget down quite a bit. To increase our profitability. But I think what we saw in the aggregate, and again, I'll use Fast as the example, is that the audience celebrated and rewarded originality, right? With both Oppenheimer and Barbie. These are two very original films in the hands of, singular, it's my third time using that word. I gotta find another one, everyone's got a suggestion. I want to say auteur, but auteur writ large, right? These are filmmakers who have a very specific voice and
visionary, unique,
Thank you. I need the journalist to help me out with my vocabulary. But yeah, so I think the audience rewarded that. I think that it sort of goes back to your first question about where cinema going is headed. I think originality, it matters. And I think we are perhaps seeing the audience tire a bit of tried and true and tested blockbuster formula, as good as they may be and as entertaining as they may be. But, we've sort of, I certainly got the sense, just in a kind of feeling the audience way, it was just a little bit of an eye roll, been there, done that. I kind of, maybe I can wait. We've trained the audience to see things at home, right? And they can do it in a comfortable way and also in a pretty good way if you've got the big TV and everything. So I think that there's I'll wait to see that until a later time.
This is going to be a weird question coming off of you and praising originality, but I gave everyone a whole spiel about polls, and I didn't do the poll with Ari, so I have to do a poll with you. And this is going to be about reboots, if we can put it on the screen, or unless I really just confused everyone. You can see it. So everyone in the audience, weigh in on this one. Maybe a sensitive subject because you just had a horror reboot that didn't do as well as you hoped. But it was from the 70s, not the 80s. Which horror? I don't need to read this to you. You guys can see it. We'll see the results from that in a second, but I'm curious what you think. And I remain confused as to why we put E.T. as a horror movie, but that's...
I know, I thought that was a trick question. Obviously, I'm not choosing that one. Yeah, I don't want that phone call. So I have to make this answer?
Yeah.
So which horror film from the 80s would you like to see remade? I'm gonna say Gremlins. Yay!
You win.
Oh my God!
And yet E.T. is second. I don't know what is going on here, but.
Do I get a prize?
I'll find something for you.
Is it a drinking game?
Well, there will be drinks afterwards. Yes.
I see you.
I'm curious. So I mentioned earlier you have a new position, or you kind of added more to your empire. You now oversee the TV studio. You oversee programming on streaming, although that's sort of a shared responsibility. Is that right?
Yep.
How is that going to work between you and Mark Lazarus?
Well, it is already working in the sense that, so what we did was we separated out the sort of media side of things, so the monetization, right, ad sales and so on, and he of course has a big portfolio with sports in there as well, and the content side. And really, just to speak about the content piece for a second, the sort of vision for it is to have a content hub. So in a company like ours, where when we're talking to content creators, we really want to be able to curate an experience for them where they walk in the door and, the sky's the limit. And, between film, television, streaming, network, linear, theme parks, there's a whole plethora of ways that they can find to, sort of express their creativity. So that's a sort of one of the goals anyway. And also as things continue to be disrupted, and we're really looking at how the sort of linear network plays in with our streaming efforts, how to do that in the best way, and you just pull all of those resources together to figure that out.
So your streaming service is Peacock. Mm-hmm. It accounts, if you trust the Nielsen data, at least in the US, for usually about or a little more than 1% of TV viewing in the US. It's considerably smaller than Netflix, Amazon, the Disney services. You guys spend a lot less on it. it's fairly comparable to the Paramount Pluses and Maxes of the world. How are you guys thinking about increasing the audience and the amount of time people spend on it? And is there a share of TV viewing that is a target for you guys?
That I don't want to speak to. I would leave that to my streaming partners. But really, I mean, look, I think from a sort of a content standpoint, when there's sports, which is working really well. There's our Pay One films, which flow through. They get the first 3 months, and those are working really well. And so I think it is about continuing to build the communities that are showing up onto the platform. So, sports obviously aggregates a lot of people with certain with certain content preferences and tastes, and catering to that audience. We have a very robust female audience, and so it's about, again, sort of continuing to cater to those audiences who are already coming into the platform, and then figuring out how we can expand beyond that.
And is a lot of the female audience coming out of Bravo and some of the other?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one other question that you're going to give me daggers for. But there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of years about further M&A in the media business, and yours is a company that's been tossed out a lot, whether it's Warner Bros. Discovery, Paramount, all of that. As I realize that is a decision that gets made in Philadelphia, but as someone as one of those kind of 2 or 3 senior most people at NBC Universal, do you feel, as you are now, that you have the scale that you need to compete?
Well, no. I mean, we are, like you described Peacock in, I think, an appropriate way. It was a late entrant, and it is growing. And so I think it's about, I think the way I look at it is, again, in this age of disruption, which just seems to become more disrupted every day, week after week. I think Taylor Swift is at the Grove, right?
Yes.
So
thank you to all of you who came here instead of the Taylor Swift.
Kind of case in point, which is it's about figuring out how to aggregate an audience around, whether it's an event, live sports, of course, concerts, but how to create, how to draw audiences in. So through gaming, through great content, through content that speaks to particular demographics in a very kind of attractive way. So I think it's about a bunch of different things and figuring out which of those levers are available to us as a company to pull.
Right.
And like you said, it's way above my pay grade.
A little bit above your pay grade, not way above. We made it this far without talking about the strike, which I feel like we have to address a little bit. We'll start with the one you don't want to answer, and then we'll get to the ones you can answer. Can we get a status update on the negotiations with the actors?
Look, no. I mean, I think the best way I could say it is that, we've been spending time with the actors, and we want to spend as much time as it takes until we get, until we can reach a resolution and get the industry back on its feet and back to work. Has been our goal since day one.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here earlier for when Ari was on stage, but his thing, which is something I've heard from a lot of people.
No, because I was at STAG. I'm kidding.
his shtick, which is what I've heard from a lot of people, is like just get in the room and talk, right? But it seems like you've been doing that, so I'm not gonna. On the writer's strike, which I feel like you can't talk about, it's been ratified. The deal is done. You were one of the kind of the principals in the room closing that deal. For those that haven't been following it closely, what was that experience like, and why did it take 5 months to wrap that up?
Well, the experience in the room with the writers was a difficult one, because we had to deal with issues like AI and minimum staffing and things, things that had up until this point sort of been unprecedented. But eventually we made a deal, and we made a deal that was ratified, as you said, on Monday with 99%, I think, voting, which is great for them, of course. And, we felt good about the deal that was made. So, I can't speak to why it took the time that it took. It just took the time that it took. People go on strike. They mean to be on strike. So
Yeah, you brought up AI, which is obvious, which sort of came out of nowhere in many ways. There'll be some know-it-alls in the room who say that they saw it coming. Is that, are there tools that your studio is already using? Or how do you see, you also used the word disruption earlier. How are you seeing the possible impact of some of that technology on your industry?
what I would say is, I think the things that, as it pertains to the strike, that people are deathly afraid of, those things are not happening yet within my company anyway. I can say that, and I think we're quite a ways away from that. And you know, there's reasons why you wouldn't do certain things like that. You know, we are big believers that at the end of the day, creativity does come from a human being and needs to be authored by a human being. So I can say that with real sincerity. But AI has been with us in different shapes and forms for a long time. And the other thing is that some of the things in the production universe that AI might enable are just extensions of what we've done for many years, practices of tiling or whatever the other things are, post-production processes. Those things will just potentially be replaced by a different technology. That's just progress. And then I think that there's other things to look at that really have nothing to do with, sort of performance. It's just things like marketing and efficiencies, and there's all kinds of things. So I would say that we're looking at a lot of things, but there's nothing that's come in so far that's just like, oh wow, great, this AI thing is enabling us to do a certain part of the process in a completely different way that changes the way that we've done we've done business up until this point.
Right. I'm curious, if you were coming out of college right now, or if you talk to college students, would you still tell them to go into the movie business?
It's such a great question. I would say to be in the storytelling business, absolutely, yeah. And to be in the business of creating imagery, whatever technology is enabling that, yeah, definitely.
To that end, okay.
If they were passionate about it, that is.
What's the best movie you saw this year that you had nothing to do with?
Oh my gosh. Let me see. Whoa, wow. It's been so long this year already. Well, I love Barbie. I thought it was great. And I love Mission Impossible. Those two movies were fantastic, so entertaining.
Mission was fun. I was surprised that it didn't do better.
Yeah.
I realize this is also a ways off and the strikes have complicated all this, but have you started to think about the Oscars next year? Do you have a contender?
No.
Why do I not believe that?
We don't make films to win Oscars. We make films to entertain the audience. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't know. I mean, look, I have no idea.
Well, they would presumably be a focus movie.
There would definitely be a focus movie in there. Yeah, Alexander Payne's movie. By the way, I can't say that you asked the question about one of my favorite movies this year. Actually, that I didn't get to the festivals this year, so I didn't get to see a lot of things. But there's Yorgos's movie. I'm really looking forward to seeing. Not ours, of course, but Alexander Payne's movie is really, really wonderful.
Which one? What is that called again?
It is called. Oh my God! Thank you. Thank you, The Holdovers. It's Paul Giamatti. It's such a beautiful movie.
Okay, there's an audience question here that I neglected that I think is actually probably a good place to end it, which is how tough will 2024 be given the strike delays, and what does it mean for theatrical partners?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, one of the reasons why I'm so focused on doing my part and our company's part in bringing resolution to the strike is that. It's not being able to finish the films that were, had to shut down as a result of the strike that need to be finished by a certain period of time for next summer. I'm not relishing the thought of a summer season without a volume of films. If I learned anything during COVID, it was the lack of volume. It, really does impact the movie-going cadence. And we were just seeing recovery from that in 2023, again in the summer with that 5% down. And if we lose that, that's going to have a really lasting, meaningful, not good impact on our industry.
Yeah.
You really going to leave me on that down note?
Okay, I'll give you one up. Who's a filmmaker that most people in this room don't know that you're really excited about?
Oh my goodness! Wow, you're making me use my memory, and that's just so hard. I think Nina Manzoor is really amazing. She does. She did a movie for Focus, and she does the show We Are Lady Parts, and it's really, she's great. Yes, thank you, Focus people. Just get, please.
Okay, well,
maybe got her name not exactly right, but sorry, my brain is filled with
great.
other things.
We will end on that positive note. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. Oh, I gotta go.
Thank you. Wait 1 second. You guys can take off very briefly. I just want to, again, thank our presenting sponsor for the evening, BMW North America. I want to just a reminder, sorry, I should pause, applause, sponsors, thank you. Tomorrow, the doors will open around 9. We'll have live TV going. I think then the first session is 9:30. There will be a live taping of the podcast Vibe Check. I will be starting here at 10 with Ted Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix. Now, please join me outside. We've got great food, great drinks. We have a live musical performance at 8:30 from Lou Kala, who's from the TikTok Elevate program. And if you know anything about me, I love good food, so please join me.